on METRONEWS. While countdown is dimming their lights for parts of the community. And over 70 New Zealand artists are displaying their work at the sculpture in the Peninsula this weekend. Kia ora, good evening and welcome to Metro News in Focus, brought to you by journalism students of the New Zealand Broadcasting School. First up tonight, Christchurch residents escaped to the beach as temperatures exceeded 30 degrees at the weekend, signs that summer is on its way, and with that comes water restrictions. Here's Gunson.
Christchurch turned out in huge numbers to the beach this weekend after a high on Sunday of 31 degrees. But it wasn't just a day of heat, it turned into a wave of it, switching on the heat for the following days, heralding the imminent arrival of summer. And it's not just in Christchurch either. All across the country, this weekend proved to be a scorcher, with the Bay of Plenty's Kawerau scoring the national high of 34.6 degrees. But if this is a sign of temperatures to come in the months ahead, then proposed water restrictions may not prove popular in the battle to combat the heat. Water restrictions are common anywhere in the nation over summer, but in Christchurch, the worry is less to do with the heat and more to do with the chlorine. Helen Beaumont, head of the council's water strategy, was unavailable for an interview but provided a statement to Metro News.
We would like to continue working on a small number of wells and two key reservoirs over the summer period. This means keeping the level of demand below the usual summer peak so that we can take these wells and reservoirs out of service.
Currently, 12 pump stations are free of chlorination, while 26 are chlorinated at 0.2 parts per million. These wells are offline, and more wells will be added to this number so they can be worked on over summer. Beaumont says it's the central zone that's been plaguing the council, but what's likely to happen if water restrictions aren't followed?
The central zone incorporates the older parts of the city where we still have a significant number of wells to be upgraded. Within this zone there is very little additional capacity to cater for any increase in demand due to garden watering on hot days or a major fire.
And you only have to look to the other end of the country to see what kind of water usage a major fire employs. 12 million litres were unloaded onto Sky City in the first day alone of fighting the large blaze last month. Chlorination has been an issue for Christchurch residents for some time now. In January 2018, the City Council voted to put chlorine into the water after assessments found 103 below-ground wellheads were not sealed well enough to prevent surface groundwater contamination. The chlorine was added in March of that year, intended for only a year's use. It missed that goal but reshuffled it to May 2019, then July, then October. And now it's looking like Christchurch residents are going to have to wait until 2020, 2 years since the first vote, to enjoy a glass of unchlorinated water. So are residents sick of water being an issue?
Well, if that's what we've got to do, we've got to do it. The sooner they fix these the water problems here and get the chlorination out of the water, the better it is for the citizens of Christchurch.
No matter how small the risk is of contamination and infection of people, it's important that because there is a chance the chlorine is put into the water, and restrictions probably won't be followed because human nature.
Yes, I think it's a good idea. It will make the water quality better.
Look, Christchurch is known for having fresh water, so if it means putting chlorine in for a little while to get it back, I'm willing to wait.
A sentiment that Helen Beaumont seems to agree with.
I think most people recognise the importance of the water supply and the contribution that a safe and secure supply makes to good public health outcomes.
And last Thursday, the City Council approved the proposed restrictions. The alternative was doing them in wintertime next year, which would have pushed chlorine removal dates back yet again. But despite the work that's in the pipeline, the water restrictions will be going ahead and they'll affect residents from every corner of Christchurch.
Isaac joins us now. So when can we expect these water restrictions to take place?
Tēnā koe, Brooke. So basically what Helen's saying is that they're going to take anywhere between 3 to 8 weeks. They're trying to refine their program at the moment, but they're likely to come into place in January of next year.
So what can people do to make sure they only use their share of the water?
Council's encouraging quite a few different strategies. Number one is watering your gardens every sort of other day as opposed to every day. Right down to perhaps using your eco settings on your dishwasher or washing machine, as well as even just something as simple as turning off the tap while you're brushing your your teeth. Now that last one can actually save around 10 litres of water a minute if you follow through with it. But all of those tips and even more are up on the Council's website, that's ccc.govt.nz.
Thanks, Isaac. About 300 of the world's most endangered gulls have made Central City ruins their new home. The Blackbuild gulls, or tarapuka, were spotted on the former PwC site by dock workers 3 weeks ago. Although it's not known why the birds have chosen to nest there, Doc's Vanessa Manda says the privacy and openness of the site allows them to easily spot predators. Manda says Doc hopes for a successful breeding season with the public able to watch on. With the Melbourne Cup just been and Canterbury Cup and Show Week just around the corner, the spotlight is on retired racehorses. But as Courtney Winter reports, one North Canterbury woman has cared for and rehomed almost 600 unwanted horses.
Taking a passion for horses to the next level. A North Canterbury woman is taking care of unwanted racehorses and finding them a suitable home. But doing a good thing is never without its challenges.
The cost of the feed and time, a lot of time, and then you've got to deal with public and all that as well.
There are many different reasons why a racehorse might become unuseful.
And not in form or not keeping up or something's gone wrong, like sore leg or some of them don't even make the track.
She says it's rewarding to see a horse get a second chance at life.
Especially when they're in their new homes and people send you videos and photos and update you on Facebook. It makes your day.
Hoping to home more, she would also like to have some help when it comes to funding.
I think Harness Racing New Zealand are looking at setting up a hero program. So it's run like the Australian one. So they'll do some funding towards helping.
Harness Racing New Zealand has told me that they're looking at a number of retraining and rehoming options, one of these including the Hero program, which is in its early stages of development with more to be announced next year. But it's really her love for horses that drives her to carry on.
It's just the love of the horses, I think, and they're part of me. Yeah, just love them. Yeah.
After rehoming more than 600 horses, she's definitely not ready to hang it all up. Courtney Winter, Metro News.
The largest sculpture exhibit in the South Island begins tomorrow, Sculpture on the Peninsula, and Isobel Prasad went along to see the final preparations.
The final touches put into place, signalling the end of a busy few months, but the start of a busy few days. Thousands are expected at Sculptures on the Peninsula, with proceeds going to a good cause.
It's an event run by the Lombardy Charitable Trust to feature contemporary sculpture from around New Zealand, and it's a fundraiser for Chumley Children's Centre in Governor's Bay, which takes care of children in crisis.
This farm is covered with sculptures made by artists from around the nation. You can come and have a look, rain or shine, from Friday through to Sunday.
It's just a fantastic opportunity. It's a wonderful weekend. There's music and dance, and it's just it's a great time. People love it from Christchurch.
Jackie Gibbs-Chamberlain has had her art on show at the event since it began. This year she combined wood and concrete.
So I've been working 3 months in the garage, and it's called The Perfect Match, and it's about, finding the right one for you. And so some are burnt, some are red, they're all interactive, but they're just a bit of fun really, and they'll go in your courtyard or wherever.
The community rallies together to help put the event on, for nothing but joy.
It's also quite a unique event in that it's largely voluntary, and there's not so many events that exist these days that are that. Like, we have school kids from Ringy who come in and waitress and roll ice creams all weekend as part of their community service, and a lot of the volunteers, we have 250 over the weekend, they repeat, like they've done lots if not all the events.
And while Jill has run all but one of the events, this time there's a different feel.
There's just been a really good feel amongst the artists coming in this time. And I don't know how that's different from the past, but it's just, there seems to be a different kind of vibe.
A vibe that's hoped to continue when thousands wander the farm grounds admiring the art. Isobel, Prasad, Metro News.
Countdown is dimming its lights and turning off its radios in an effort to make shopping more inclusive for the autistic community. Countdown supermarkets from around the country are dimming their lights to make a more comfortable shopping experience for people with autism. The initiative, welcomed by the autistic community, was trialled at a select few supermarkets last year, before being rolled out permanently at the end of October. Loud and busy environments like supermarkets can often be triggering for people who are sensory sensitive.
With my son, it sets him into a meltdown. He'll yell and scream, "I'm not going," put his hands over his ears. He just can't stand the noise and too many people. It's a major meltdown. And he just gets dysregulated and he takes about 2 hours to calm down.
In a statement, Countdown says the quiet hours offer customers a time to shop in stores that is easy on the eyes and ears by reducing noise, lighting and other distractions in store. Lighting throughout the store is reduced, in-store radios are turned off and checkout volumes are lowered. For Hall, supermarkets introducing quiet hours is changing the game when it comes to outings with her son.
It is. My boy's 14, so he's a teenager. Normally teenagers love the noise, but he now knows that Countdown have a quiet hour or two, and he's like, "Can we go and do the shopping then?" I say, "Well, if you're not at school, of course we can. If you're off school, we can go and do the shopping then. It's nice and quiet for you." And he'll quite happily walk around the supermarket with me, calm as anything, not looking at anything, not looking for any certain noises or anything. And he enjoys it way better.
Hall hopes the initiative is something that can be rolled out across other big shopping outlets where sensory overloads can occur.
I reckon they should, because they'll get a lot more parents feel comfortable going shopping. They should incorporate everyone. It's like, I work in the education department and I work with special needs, and it's like, well, they've got the rights to learn, so they've also got the rights to shop, just like everyone else.
She says this change by Countdown should help raise awareness of autism for the public. The Guy Fawkes period may be done and dusted, but the debate on private fireworks sales is continuing, and one organisation is speaking out. Unlike private sales, animal rights group SAFE isn't wanting a ban on public displays. But Will Appleby says more regulation is needed.
There is a lot of evidence that shows that dogs get quite fearful and distressed during fireworks. For horses it's much worse. Horses have been known to panic run, which can cause injuries in horses, and even livestock and wildlife are negatively impacted by fireworks.
SAFE will present against private sales to a government select committee next week. It isn't just dogs that can be used as therapy animals. I went along to find out how one group is using horses to help people with disabilities. Inside the world of therapy animals, one group is using horses to help people with disabilities. The Christchurch branch of Riding for Disabilities works with people of all ages through the power of connecting riders with horses. Run with the help of volunteers, the team comes together through a combined passion of animals and helping people.
I found out that working with horses brings them to them an amazing opportunity to be able to do something different as a sport they're not able to do as a normal person would do.
They've achieved something just as important as the next person in the class, and that's quite something, and it's a lovely feeling to watch their faces.
The program aims to provide a therapeutic experience for the rider through the interactions with horses during each session. Riding for Disabled chooses the horse and lesson that best suits the rider's needs. The program can allow for riders to make significant improvement in and outside of the stables.
An adult came who'd had a stroke and came with a frame and was shuffling in, as you do. And after 6 months, he came in and he said, "I can't come riding anymore." And I thought, "Oh golly, what's happened?" And he said, "I've been offered my job back," because he'd learnt how to rebalance. To give a man who was in his 50s back his life and say, "There you go, off you go again." It was great.
The riders are able to form a special relationship with the horses, as a mutual bond of trust is what helps them work together. Being able to empathise with each other, the use of horses allows the riders to connect with them.
It's an amazing bond. Yeah, it's very special.
I think horses don't criticise you. Horses are never going to tell you that you haven't done something right. They quietly, you trust them, they'll trust you. And I think that's quite big in the rider's world, because it can be quite critical outside. Everyday life can be a bit critical. And you come in and there's your friend.
Helping people with disabilities anywhere from 5 to 60 years in age, the program uses horses to help give back to their community. Crowds egged on 1,000 rubber ducks as they floated downstream to help raise money for Life Education Trust. Here's Courtney.
1,000 rubber ducks raced down the Avon over the weekend to raise money for Life Education in Canterbury. Many Kiwis would be familiar with the organisation's mascot, Harold the giraffe.
And this is Harold!
Woo! After the first ever duck race was successful last year, it has become an annual fundraiser.
Basically, we established the event to support the delivery of the Life Education program within the Canterbury region.
Life Education delivers important health programs to primary and intermediate age children across the country. But over the decades, priorities have changed and our kids need different messages.
In today's world particularly, we spend a lot of time teaching things like resilience, emotional literacy, understanding about our bodies and how amazing they are, drugs and alcohol awareness, food and nutrition.
Digital citizenship is also becoming a huge aspect with kids of today, and even younger children. We teach it right down to year 2s.
Life Education has to fundraise 75% of their operational cost per year, so support from the community is essential. This year the duck race brought together the general public, children and families to raise $10,000.
That support means that we're able to reach as many children as we can, particularly here in Canterbury, because the money raised in Canterbury stays here in Canterbury.
All of the ducks were collected at the end of the day and are waiting patiently to do it all over again next year. Courtney Winter, Metro News.
That's all for tonight. For those stories and more, head to our website metronews.co.nz or follow us on our Facebook page. Join us again next week, but for tonight, those were our stories in focus. I'm Brooke Hunter, Nai Mihi Nui, Heikell.